All right, let's talk about Africa. Sudan first, where protests are ongoing against the government there. On October 25th, I think general, but high ranking military officer named Abdel Fattah al Burhan took over that country and deposed the prime minister Hamdok. Protests followed, and after about a month, actually, Hamdok was, at least in name, returned to power. Although earlier this month or late in December, he actually resigned again. I think basically because his hands were tied and he wasn't getting anywhere. So the protests have been ongoing since October. Western countries have cut aid and threatened sanctions, although I don't think sanctions have really been enforced heavily on Ukraine or on Sudan up until this point. So at least that's some good news. I believe some of the protest organizations have asked international governments not to give the Sudanese government any aid because it's just being stolen and used against them. Since October, at least 79 people have died, and this number has increased by about 20 as far as I could tell throughout the month of January. Protests have been going on several times a week throughout the country. It's a fairly large country, remember, and so it's not that all these people are dying in the same city in the same place or something. Typically it seems around one or two a day. I haven't read there being, I think, more than 7 protesters killed in a single day in the month of January, and so I think the total has probably increased by about 20 to 25 demonstrators killed throughout this month. Now, it doesn't seem to be, I guess, having real effect, at least as an outside observer. Somebody in the West through Western media can pick up here on the government's ability to rule or anything like that. I think they have a lot of support, maybe not from the Western governments, but more from the Gulf Arab states and things like that. So at this point, the protests are ongoing and continue to be deadly, continue to kill protesters, and at the same time, there doesn't seem to be any real urgent need for resolution or any sign that this is coming to an end anytime soon. Now on to Burkina Faso, where last week when I talked about Burkina Faso on the show, I mentioned that the soldiers were claiming they were moving in on the presidential palace and gunfire could be heard in the country, but I wasn't sure if this was maybe just an elevated sense of security or if there was really a coup going on. And it turns out there was really a coup going on. The president of the country, Roch Marc Christian Kabore, has been deposed and apparently elected. From my understanding, there's no indication he was killed or anything, just arrested by the military. And the new leader is Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry San Dogo Dambia, and he was apparently the commander of one of the country's 3 military regions. But more important than that, he was heavily trained by the United States. Nick Turse has a great article at The Intercept. Another U.S. trained soldier stages a coup in West Africa, and he lays out that the lieutenant colonel who took over the country participated in 2010 and 2012 in the annual Special Operations Training Program known as the Flintlock Exercise in 2013. He was accepted into the Africa Counterinsurgency Operations Training and Assistance course in 2013 and 2014. He attended the U.S.-sponsored Military Intelligence Basic Officer course Africa in 2018 and 19. He participated in the engagement with U.S. Defense Department civil military support elements in Burkina Faso. And so essentially nearly every year over the past 5 years, this guy has engaged in some kind of training with the United States. Apparently, he speaks English and is now in control of the country after deposing the president, who was apparently elected twice in 2015 and 2020. I guess I used the word apparently there just to qualify that I don't know how legitimate his elections were, but he did, win elections, quote unquote. Last thing I'll just mention, I've talked about this in the past on the show, that there was growing instability in Burkina Faso, not just generally on the security side where there's, jihadists running around and things like that, but also, protests against the government, just people generally being upset and feeling like the government wasn't doing what it needed to do. And so it didn't necessarily come as a surprise to me that there was a coup here, or that the coup leader had U.S. backing, because so many times it happens. I think Terse has a whole list in that article, but he highlights the current coup leader of Mali was U.S. trained. In Guinea, it was a U.S. trained I think colonel again there that overthrew the government. And so I don't know why these governments allow their military to train with the U.S., because it seems like it would turn them into huge liabilities, as again in Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, and all these other countries. But continues to happen. Coups continue to be the result.